Welcome to Lesbian Talk episode 121. And she's not making a noise because she was just laughing about the time she traumatized her cat in the kitchen.
I didn't do anything with cat.
No, she traumatized him with a red pool noodle because he already was upset at once having a red toy lightsaber flashed at him, and then he got stuck in the corner. And she's making a great face. And he couldn't get over, there were some galoshes in the corner. And she was like, look, and he was like, trying to like escape in blind terror, but he kept falling into the galoshes and then getting up and then falling again. And she was laughing at that just now.
I don't know what she just invented this.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Making a face.
The only thing I terrify that cat with is the vacuum whenever I have to do vacuuming. And he's like, I want to be in the same room as you, but I hate the vacuum. Oh, no.
Kipper didn't like the vacuum either. I took it out, he'd run and hide under the bed. But then, I'd vacuum the whole place and put it away, and he'd come out, 10 minutes later, and, sniff, every inch of the carpet, all suspicious, what did you do? Why is this happening? And then I vacuumed, literally once a week. So, because vacuuming is one of those really, hoovering in the UK, is one of those really fulfilling tasks. No, it is, because then, there's, nice, lovely, vacuum lines in the carpet. And it just, looks like you've done a lot more than you actually had. It's like doing the dishes. It's or folding laundry.
Okay.
I like to clean.
Okay. I like to make stupid videos for the internet.
Yeah, well, that's good that I do the cleaning then, isn't it?
I do some cleaning.
Yeah, you do, that's true.
I do the dishes.
I don't like washing the toilet, though. It's not fun. Or the shower. Because it involves, a lot of high-caliber chemicals.
I saw an episode of something where a guy was being controlled to lick a toilet clean.
Ugh.
You see, one of the many projects I'm working on right now is an episode-by-episode review of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the 1993 and 2000 version. This is Patreon request, so it was $300 request to look at all of it. I've got the first 7 out of 13 episodes scripted, and in the last one I watched, that's what happened.
Yuck.
It was okay. The guy who did it, the guy who had it being forced to do it, he was an asshole, so it's okay. Plus, he was French.
Oh, what the French? But so one thing that I really wanted to talk about today, because we got into kind of an interesting conversation about it earlier, and I was like, we should talk about this on Lesbian Talk. Is I follow the local used video games place in Derry. I liked their Facebook page a while back, so. They shared the trailer for Hellblade this morning. I was like, oh, it's out today, and things and stuff. And I was like, oh, this looks really good. And then, so I was like, I want to read, a review of this. And I read the IGN review, and it was glowing. And I was like, well, it's glowing, but there's some things about it that I don't personally want in a gaming experience. So I think I'll pass. And then, the controversy. As Jim Sterling was tweeting about it, and...
Controversy.
Oh, geez, I don't remember her name, but it's this person that I follow. I just followed her, a wee bit ago, who does a podcast about Steven Universe that I keep meaning to listen to because it sounds really interesting, but then I actually haven't gotten to. But she just got a job working for Kotaku, so she wrote about it for Kotaku.
Oh, Laura K. Buzz.
Is that? I know she has blue hair.
Yeah, I think that's Laura K. Buzz.
I follow so many people.
I don't actually know what she does, but I've heard her name before, and I've seen people, they were all excited that she had this new job, and now she's at Kotaku.
She's a pop culture person like all of us, I think.
Yeah, sure. I've watched Jim Sterling's videos. I've never seen anything by her, though.
Oh, well,
Does she even do videos? I have no idea.
I don't know. I don't think so. But anyway, so yeah, it was a big controversy. Now, here's the thing. Is if you haven't heard about Hellblade, Swanna's Sacrifice, it's the main character is a Celtic warrior, and she has to journey to Norse hell to save...
Why does a Celt go to Norse hell?
I think because they were warring with the Vikings.
To be fair, she couldn't really go to Celtic hell because I don't think they actually had an afterlife.
I'm not sure.
In Celtic things, you had the other world, where it was pretty much the same as our one. When you died in our world, you were born in the other world to a family. You grew up, you died, then you were born again in our world.
That sounds tiring. No, the trailer didn't make it clear, but I'm pretty sure that supernatural goings-on are going on.
What did Norse hell look like?
Well, it looked like bits of a gameplay trailer.
Yeah, but just saying, does it look like Christian hell?
Well, it looked like a lot of crawling in the dark with a voiceover. Well, but anyway, so the reason I watched the trailer was that it was touted as, neuroscientists and people who dealt with psychosis have been consulted on this. And it's a really great way to understand, like, mental illness and stuff like that.
Although consulting in this sort of context sometimes can just mean, do. Hello, are you in neuroscience? Yes, I am. Do you have an opinion on this? Yes, I do. Here it is. Are you going to... He goes, thank you. I'm going to ignore that.
Well, I never said how much it is. And apparently, like... Well, the IGN review said that you're supposed to play it, ideally, with your headphones in. Because there is a constant chatter of voices that you're hearing, the character's hearing in hell, and it's kind of supposed to mimic, like, you know, people who experience auditory hallucinations, which is one of the big things that I'm going to be studying, and in specific context, for my doctorate thesis. So I'm going
to study it in a very different specific context, as in the specific context of not studying it. I'm just saying I did.
Well, there you go. But yeah, so I thought, this sounds interesting. So I read the IGN article, but it does have a lot of puzzles, and I am notoriously bad at puzzles. Like, seriously.
Oh, fuck off. You can do the star map shit in Dragon Age Inquisition without having to look on the internet.
But that's the only thing that I can do. That's the only time in my gaming life, and we're talking about, like, from when I first picked up, like, an Atari joystick.
I can't do that.
You know, that I have been in instance, for some reason, just, if you want to, in Dragon Age Inquisition.
Astrarium.
Through the Astrariums, but there's a specific name for the type of mathematical, it's the kind of thing where there's a bunch of dots, you have to make a specific pattern without doubling back.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I'm just really good at them. There's one every time that just is too complex for me to have to Google.
I think the classic example of this puzzle is someone trying to go over all the bridges in this particular city. You know, you have a map, and you can only go over each bridge once to get to them all. I think that's the classic version. Yeah,
it's something akin to the. This is not racist, I promise. The Chinese mailman puzzle.
Ooh.
Well, it's basically it was this kind of thing that it's not a cultural appropriation. It's one of those brain teasers, but I think it originated in San Francisco, where, you know, for a great deal of San Francisco's history, current, past, and present, or past, present, and future, the great deal of the city is Chinese. A lot of Chinese settled there, and a lot of Chinese Americans live there, and so, like, the question was, you know, so and so is a mailman. How can he get through all of this maze without, there's, like, specific rules, like, he can only be on this side or only be on that side, and what's the most economical way to do it?
It's the sort of thing that would be really useful for the knowledge in London.
Yeah, it's like the same kind of thing, like the London taxi drivers questions.
Yeah, to be a London taxi driver, you actually have to study the equivalent of, like, getting a bachelor's degree in getting around London. You have to know the quickest way to get to any 2 points in London.
Right.
Like really
and
impressive.
London taxi drivers actually have fundamentally different brains, like, not in a major kind of way. No, there's been a lot of cognitive psychology studies done on the ability, like, because, you know, when you get good at something, you know, it's because you are making those neurons connect. The neurons that fire together wire together.
I wonder if this is connected to the fact that so many London taxi drivers also love the sun.
I don't know. I mean, there might be a correlation, but no, I'm, like, pretty much literally every few months you see something come across a cognitive psych thing about the brains of London taxi drivers. So, but anyway, so I'm rubbish at puzzles, and the thing that people are up in arms about, the controversy about Hellblade, is that I keep going back and forth between the American pronunciation and the British pronunciation of controversy. I said controversy earlier. Oh, I don't even know what's happening. Well, anyway, die enough times and it's perma-death. Like, actually, like the game deletes your save file. And at first I thought, wow, that's really clever. You know, that okay, I can get behind that, because I think in some instances permadeath has its place, but I thought, this game is not for me, because I get frustrated and say, fuck this, and you'd say, you dropped 30 pounds on that, and I'd be like, well, I guess I wasted my money.
Except unless it's like Doom or No Man's Sky or something, in which case I dropped 30 quid.
No, you didn't.
Didn't I buy them for you?
Well, no. First of all, No Man's Sky I bought for $18.50.
Okay.
Used at CEX.
I thought I did.
No, you bought me Doom. That was 15 quid.
Yeah. Okay, I thought I was involved in No Man's Sky.
You were involved because it was your credit, because I was sad for some reason. You said, here, take my store credit, go to CEX and buy something that you want. And then I did.
There you go, so I did buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, put them together, 13 and 18 together, it's £33.
I have been playing them, which is not sturdy. I'm in academia. But yeah, so what do you think about permadeath? Because I think it has a time and a place. But the issue is that a lot of people pre-ordered and they weren't, like, that part of it wasn't really highlighted. Like, the info was out there, but it wasn't a selling point. And they said that they might not have pre-ordered if they'd known.
I think that video games would benefit from having as many different variants of playing available to the player who wants to use them, such as Permadeath, like this, for people who really want a challenge, or ones that are really, really easy for people who don't particularly want to have to spend hours upon hours upon hours upon hours doing something in order to get good. I think that video games should not... You should not be required to be insanely good at something in order to finish it. You can if you want. That's why I'm like, I think there should be like as many different difficulty levels as possible.
Kind of like a sliding scale, like you pick at the beginning.
Yeah, just choose the one you want. I mean, like for instance, I am really good at the Arkham games.
You are.
I've beaten them all. I've beaten the Game Plus and I've beaten several Game Pluses on the highest level. I am really good at it. However, I prefer to play them on the easiest level because Batman is so damn good at everything. With my ability at the game, put it with an easy level, it means you get the true Batman experience of kicking the shit out of everyone without getting hit once. So I prefer playing it that way. And I think it's only fair that you should be able to use difficulty, if nothing else, then for a form of additional role-playing in the universe.
Well, I guess it comes down to what you want to get out of the game.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean... I've seen a lot of people being like, there should never be difficulty settings because if a game is difficult, only the real hardcore get... Like there's this idea that there's something wrong with wanting a casual experience. But here's the thing. You can be hardcore about something in one thing and want a casual experience in the other. Like, I mean, you know, I really love the Dragon Age series. I mean, if you listen to Lesbian Talk, you know that we talk about Dragon Age a shit ton. But... that doesn't mean that I'm going to turn my nose up at playing Peggle at the same time. I have a freeware game on my phone called Magnetic Balls. Everyone said. And it's just basically one of those color matching games, but with the balls have magnetic... So there's a magnetic physics engine. And that's kind of fun. And I've beaten it, like it levels you up, so I've beaten it on the easy one. I'm currently on the medium setting. I think it goes up to hard after you beat like the whole 200 levels. But... it's a stupid silly little thing I can play on a wee break at work, or I went to go see my supervisor today, and he had to talk on the phone with somebody for a few minutes, so, you know, I whipped that right out, but...
I don't know if you can hear that, there's a helicopter outside.
Must be trouble in the bogside.
Yeah, in Northern Ireland, if there's a helicopter out, that usually means they're expecting or worried about possibly some kind of trouble.
Aye. Like, in America, it's like the medevac, or, you know, like... the traffic or weather copter here. It's just
but
like...
don't be worrying because by the time you hear this, you'll know if we're dead or not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
We won't die.
We haven't died yet.
You can hear it pretty loud, so it must be... Well, because there's that festival that's going on.
Oh yeah, it's the festival and it's a unionist thing, so maybe they're worried.
Although allegedly it's supposed to be fireworks, but I don't know. But no, like, so I was thinking, like, you know, I really don't like that idea that you're only a gamer if you do it a certain way.
It's like... The film has its own share of snobs. For instance, like people who will only watch subtitled films instead of who don't like dubbed films, who only watch the subtitled ones, who will turn their nose up at all sorts of, you know, sort of more mainstream cinema.
Oh yeah, when I first got into anime, like way back in the day when I was in uni the first time, like me and my friends had kind of got into it 6 months previous. Like, look at this Japanese animation. It's violent and awesome. I'm like, wait a minute. This looks like Sailor Moon. This looks like a whole bunch of stuff I remember watching in the 80s. It was anime the whole time. So I joined the Anime Society at uni, and they were a bunch of sub-snobs. And I can't see. So I always had to sit in the absolute front row and squint at the goddamn subtitles. Like, why can't we just put the dubbed version on? I can't fucking see.
Yeah, but there are subgroups of film snobs. However, I cannot think of any film person who would be so deranged in their snobbery as to insist that a film has some sort of a test partway through that the viewer has to fill in and has to beat in order to understand the film correctly before they can see the rest of it.
Prove your worth to unlock the second part of Citizen Kane.
Yeah, it's just like, imagine if Star Wars ended right after they got out of the Death Star, and then you weren't allowed to finish it until you had some sort of arbitrary thing that George Lucas had decided. Like, did you like, for instance, George Lucas turns up and he won't let you watch the rest of it unless you accurately tell him what color C-3PO's left leg is. One of his legs is silver and the other one's gold. And it's just insane, this idea that you need to do certain things to continue experiencing a work of art, which is ridiculous, because games are a work of art.
Man, like, I mean, I played Gone Home because I heard a lot of good stuff about it. I played it on my laptop, which had a really, really inferior graphics card to it. Like, I had to have, like, the cooling deck cranked up to 11. But it was in the middle of the night. It was, I was at home, and I was playing, and I was really into it. To the point where in Gone Home, like, it's very atmospheric because there's this huge raging thunderstorm going on. You're running around turning on all the lights in the house. Like, well, okay, if you were me. And the lights flickered for a second, and I was, ah! And then I waited for, like, the thunder, and then I realized that it was when the air conditioning got ready to kick in, because this was right before I moved over, so I was staying at my parents' house. They had central air, so, like, the second before it clicked in, all the lights in the house would dim for a second, and then it would click, and I was like, oh, that's because it's not raining here, it's in the game. And I was like, oh, it's my games are art moment.
Yeah, games are art. There is a really crazy little subgroup of people who right now, because they don't like artistic criticism being directed at games, are willing to throw the entire medium under the bus by claiming it's just a product, that it's not actually art.
Yeah.
Ignoring the fact that it's not actually art, then, well, under American law it's not protected by the First Amendment, so you can ban games. Even beyond that, it's really infantilizing for the possibilities of the genre. You want to strangle it at a developmental stage. I mean, games, the first video game, depending on how you define it, was created in the somewhere between the 40s and the 70s. And that is a very short time for a genre of art. Just imagine, this sort of film, after 50 years being invented, that was 1920-ish. Just imagine if film got retarded in the non-pejorative sense, not non-insulting sense.
Okay. It was slowed down.
If it was stuck at that level of development in the 20s because there were certain groups of people who could not handle new innovations or different ways of doing film, like speaking.
There should be no talkies. If you're a real film fan, you can lip read.
There were people who said that.
What?
There were people at the time who were against the idea of talkies, who saw them as a way of destroying the art of cinema, who saw them
ruining
as a way,
everything.
Yeah, it was one of the distinguishing parts of cinema that you didn't have people speaking. You could imagine their voice. It was a mix. It was a hybrid of visual. It was a hybrid of theater and reading, because you had the intertitles. But you had people who were really annoyed at this. And likewise, you got people who are really annoyed at any possibility of people getting rid of difficulty in games so that other people can experience them.
Well, here's the thing, and also, like, the fact that, like, I mean, I can read something and be like, oh, this is not for me. But I can still recognize that it's a really great thing. Like, Teddy and Avatar Decent Humor and their roommate really wanted me to play Overwatch, because I do have, like, a PC could be used as a pretty good gaming PC, and I was like, nah, I don't like first-person shooters. I'm really, really bad at them. I don't like people. I don't like MMOs. They're like, oh, well, you can just play on our server with, like, a whole bunch of other people, including us. I'm like, but it's not fun for me. They're like, it's a really great game. I'm like, I'm sure it's a really popular game. Looks like there's a lot of lore and a lot of fans, and people really seem to enjoy it, but it's not for me. Like, I looked at the trailer for Hellblade, I'm like, that looks beautiful. Wow. And it's supposed to be about a psychological experience. But you know what? There's elements that just make it not enjoyable for me. But it still looks like it's pretty fantastic. Yeah. So you can say, you know what, this is just not my experience, but you're not slagging it off, too.
Yeah, just people insisting that something remain or be a way that they like is silly. I mean, obviously film continued on past the silent era, and they introduced color, and they introduced wider shots, and they introduced a bunch of different things. But the original stuff that the people liked, it's still there.
It just changes.
It's just, even the stuff that they like, you still get black and white films, you can still occasionally get silent films. The thing that people liked, which all cinema was, still remains no matter where it goes. It's like, in evolution, you cannot outgrow your ancestry. In that, no matter our descendants will always be apes because their ancestors were apes. It's not like they're going to suddenly become felines or something. It stays there. You bring it with you.
You know what? My supervisor said back when I had him, for class, like in my second year, he said this, and I used it in the exam, that every person born is the product of every environment that came before them.
Yeah.
You have been influenced by every single environment of all the way back from to like the Big Bang, and that's amazing. And the thing is, having a difficulty curve, using a difficulty other than the most extreme one, doesn't make you a bad person.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's no saying that you can't. I mean, a game should have replay value. I mean, I'll tell you what, the guy doing the voiceover in Hellblade sounded a lot like the same voice actor who voiced Corypheus in Dragon Age Inquisition. And I will confess this in front of the internet, just hearing the same voice actor made me want to redo Inquisition, even though I replayed the entire game and all of the DLC, that's Descent, Jaws of Hacken, and Trespasser at the beginning of the summer after exams. It still made me want to do it again. But here's the thing, and I keep coming back to Dragon Age as a good example, because when a Dragon Age game first comes out, or I first get it because I played Origins and 2 years after they came out, I will play on, the story-heavy setting, the challenge light story-heavy setting first, because then you get to experience it as the hero, like you said, like as Batman, and then you're like, oh, well, that was pretty easy. I wonder what those dragons would be like on the hard setting, or on, you'll still see people, okay, I'm doing a nightmare run with an all-mage party. What do you guys suggest? You know? And I don't know, I see this attitude that, especially with stuff like Dark Souls and Bloodborne, that, if you're not good at it immediately, then you're not a real gamer, you're not dedicated.
Or because you don't play it on the hardest possible level, that you are somehow inferior. It is snobbery.
Yeah, but where do they think that young gamers come from? Because, quite honestly,
they come out of holes in the ground.
You have to learn, and I think that our generation has a big old bug up its ass about this, because, the consoles that we played on, Atari and Nintendo and Sega Genesis / Master System and all, or an SNES, they were pretty punishing, because it was a specific time in games evolution where you didn't have the technological advances that allowed save states.
Yeah.
And then when you, holy crap, in Zelda, when you could save your game? Yep. Oh my god!
It's like, in film, the biggest changes happened. There were changes in how narrative was done, like the invention of montage by, the early Soviet filmmakers. But most of the changes that happened with film were technological, because it just, over time, the technology was invented. However, video games, they look so good right now. So quickly. I'm not entirely sure that the technology-wise is going to improve that much. It's going to get more photoreal. But beyond that, maybe more naturalistic controls, whatever. But the biggest changes that are going to happen in video games are going to not involve tech. It's going to involve how the games are done. That's why you got things like the quote-unquote walking simulators. You've got the visual novels. Mm-hmm. You've got these things which are just going offshoots of what games were like. I mean, the oldest games were very hard. One of the biggest evolutions in game is the fact that easy games exist now, games that anyone can play, and that's going to continue. And
yeah, because you have a kid, younger than we would have started playing, that, is building up their hand-eye coordination through use of digital devices. I tell you what, my niece is 1.5 years, she's 18 months old, and she can operate a touchscreen. And that if nothing else, shows the adaptivity of humanity.
Yeah.
And I mean, within a generation, we weren't freaked out by the moving picture anymore. Mm-hmm. That first, what was it called, the thing with the train?
I can't remember what you call it, but I can't remember what you call that particular one, but there are several films like the one you're thinking of.
Well, the first time a lot of people saw a moving picture was this few second reel of a train pulling into the station, and they panicked. They jumped out of their seats because they were certain that a train was about to hit them.
Yeah, and I've read that might be a myth.
Really?
It might be, but it might be true. It's human beings can be very dumb.
But within one generation, we adapted to the idea that moving pictures on a flat surface is not seeing it through a window.
Well, quicker than that.
Yeah.
But it went from something...
Like a full generation turnover, kind of.
It went from something that is abnormal and a complete novelty to something mundane.
Yeah. Like, the people first thought if you were in a train, you might go mad from the speed.
Yeah, that was actually something that several people worried about. They were also worried that the noise and sound and sort of movement of a train might panic nearby sheep into dying. The original cars had people walking in front of them with big red flags waving them to warn people.
There's a car coming through! Car coming through here!
The first man to wear a top hat in London was arrested for terrifying people. Human beings, we are skittish as fuck when it comes to new things.
But we figure it out.
Yeah, very quickly, but...
We adapt.
In video games, the new thing that people freak out over is making games less difficult. That's really fucking weird.
Well,
but...
I feel like it's really a product of our generation. I don't think that the Generation Digital, or whatever we're calling these kids now, I don't think that'll be so much of a problem for them. And the thing is, I think that we feel that, like, it's kind of like one of those, yes, well, we had to play Battletoads with one arm and a broken controller.
You'd probably play Battletoads better then. But,
that's true. You probably would.
But I'm making the parallel between...
both ways.
But I'm making the parallel between quote-unquote easy-to-win games and the invention of talkies. That this is a development in the art that is making it more acceptable, more accessible for people, make it easier for the audience that some people are against.
Fair enough.
So that's what I'm thinking. Instead of inventing new technologies like what happened with film,
and VR,
we're getting new types of games, and we're getting easier games so that everyone can play them. As long as you don't get rid of the hard games and you have the option for it, I don't see the problem.
Well, look at Minecraft. I mean, as much of an asshole as Notch is, like, you know, it's basically digital Lego.
Yeah.
And I you know, first took a look at it. I think I downloaded it. It was like I had Xbox Live Gold for a few months before I moved, and I think it was like a free download. And the first thing I did was I picked creativity mode. Because what I wanted to do was, let's see what this can do. I want to be able to basically have this be my digital Lego box. What do I want to do today? I want to build a castle out of pretty stones. Okay, I'm done now. But I know that there are people who'd be like, what? No, you have to suffer and you have to punch a tree until you can make a pickaxe and then die by cactus. No.
Indeed, no.
I don't want to die of cactus. But the thing is that, I mean, I can't imagine that anyone would. But I don't know. I just think it's unnecessary gatekeeping, and it really tries to stratify something that you don't need to stratify.
And anything
that would be like saying, oh well, we don't really like pizza if you don't eat it thin crust all the time. Like, that's foolish. When would you ever...
Actually, you do get crazy foodies who are like that as well. I think
You make fun of them.
Oh yes, you do. Rightfully so. But honestly...
You're not a real oxygen breather.
But in the same sort of vein, the term gamer is pretty bloody silly. Like, everyone in our generation, barring a few exceptions, on some level plays video games. That's
true.
And the idea that it's like the word gamer is like the word cinephile, is like the word foodie. It's a self-aggrandizing term for people who do something that everyone else does but think they're better because of the way they do it.
When I think of the word gamer, though, I think of it as someone who, like, it's more than a passing interest. You know what I will do? I will use not a parable. I'll use an analogy. We went many years ago. I ended up, and I've told the story many times before, I ended up at this youth conference for Catholic youth and in high school, and it was weird. But we had to go to the girls' session. And so the woman who was doing the girls' session told us, about pizza. And she said, how many of you love pizza? And all raised our hands. She goes, have you ever been sitting around, in school, you're kind of hungry because it's getting on to be the end of the day, you're thinking, oh man, I want pizza. I can taste it right now. Cheese, tomatoes. Oh yeah, I really want it. And then you go home and you order pizza. And I'm like thinking, yeah, I'm with you, babe. I'm with you. I want pizza right now, as a matter of fact. She goes, and then you get the pizza. Oh, and it's great. And you eat the pizza. And I'm like, yeah, tell me more. Pizza. All right, come on. And she goes, but the next day, do you still think about that pizza? And I'm thinking, yeah, you bet I do. If it was good enough, sure. If the leftovers, she goes, if there was a pizza-related emergency, would you be upset? If the pizzeria in your town closed down, would you cry? And then the analogy she was making was that pizza, the want for pizza was lust. And she goes, and she said that, like, that the way that we would...
I think this nun wants to fuck pizza.
She wasn't a nun. But I really wanted pizza then. I think I was almost... my pizza lust was at the point of nearly sexually aroused for pizza at that point.
So you were with her on that matter then?
I wanted pizza because she was talking about it, and it wasn't lunch yet. But then, no, but what she was saying is that...
Pizza?
No, but here's the thing.
Do you fuck pizza at camps in America all the time?
Not done yet.
How did she fuck the pizza?
Punch. No, but then, so she's like, she was calling lust pizza love because you don't really care about the person, you just want to have sex, which... As a young lesbian, I didn't understand at all. But the point is that me and my friends made fun of it, and we had this phrase pizza love for a while. But see, the thing is that, like, you like games, but do you really care about games? And I would see a gamer as someone that keeps up on gaming news. You know, they were like, oh, there's a thing happening in gaming, oh, I'm interested. Whereas someone who, like, they play video games, but that's not really, like, they're not really that interested. So I would categorize a gamer as someone whose enjoyment goes, a little bit further into interest.
You're describing the way that I am when it comes to films, but would you call me a filmer or a movier?
Well, no, I would say you're really into films.
Yeah, and I would say the person you're describing is really into games.
Yeah, but like, it's
in other contexts, the idea of this having a special word for someone who's really into this subject, it indicates a level of snobbery and assholery.
Well,
for example, cinephile. People, if anyone calls themselves a cinephile, you know they're a dickhead.
Well, then what do you call it?
Please,
because there are people like who are very into movies. Like my supervisor, Garvin. We even have a catchphrase like, "Oh, have you seen the thing?" And he looks at me and I go, we both say at the same time, well, Czar's probably seen it. Because there's so many times where he's asked me about a thing, and I said, no, but Czar's probably seen it. That's the point, it's become a catchphrase. So Czar's probably seen it.
Yeah, but...
but then I wouldn't describe other coworkers as into movies as Garvin is.
Someone check Kyle's, Owen Citizen's Twitter to make sure he doesn't describe himself as a cinephile, because I'll feel really bad. But I definitely would not refer to myself as a cinephile because it has extra baggage of someone who is a snob about the subject.
Well, you can be into things without being a snob.
I know, obviously you can, because I'm very into films and I'm not a snob about it. I mean, I defended The Hobbit for using 48 frame, shots when everyone else was like, freaking out how bad that was.
Well, it's good to try new things. Sometimes it doesn't always work.
I am a big fan of films trying new things. I want the art expanded as much as it can possibly be. I love films from every single genre. Although usually not Wild West, because I fucking hate westerns. I love things from all over different time periods in films. I will fucking defend gore movies and everything like that. The guinea pig films from Japan, I describe them with a straight face as art house.
I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm just saying I think there's a middle ground.
What I'm saying is, it's possible to be really into a genre without using a label that has extra connotations to it, because the word gamer, rightfully or wrongly, has extra connotations beyond being really into video games.
Yes, but I think that's happened only in the past 15 or so years.
Well, yes, because
I think that the colloquialism of the word and its implications has changed in the past 15 years.
Well, yes, because they went from being still fairly niche to being literally everyone. It's as just a word to describe people who like video games, it's nearly pointless.
That's a good point. I mean, a lot of the work that I'm doing right now to make extra money because I need a laptop for my PhD is I'm writing freelance articles, and the ones that pay the best are the ones on various people's net worths, and a lot of them are YouTubers who are worth a few million, and I'm not. And they all got their start, doing video game vlogs and Minecraft and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the video game industry is probably bigger than the film industry. And so you cannot have, so the term gamer lost its, I would say, quote, legitimate meaning when it was a part of this subgroup who liked this niche thing. Years and years ago, it's one of the, if it's not the biggest popular art form, it is one of the biggest popular art forms. And by using the word gamer just to mean people who like video games means literally almost everyone.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's a bit like having a special type of word for human beings who are not allergic to water.
I think that's a bit obtuse.
Well, no, there are people who are allergic to water.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm
trying to show how ridiculous it is when you're describing a huge percentage of the population with a particular word. You only the only way that happens usually is if you've got a word for the minority comes first, to the ones who wouldn't like video games, then you got the word for the majority. In this case, it's because the minority became the majority, the name stayed, but it's past its usefulness.
Well, write in the comments what you think. Like, if you have a linguistic solution.
Okay, here's a comparison. It's like the word homosexual was invented before the word heterosexual, because whenever you're dealing with a majority-minority thing, the minority group always gets named first.
Okay.
It's just the way it always is, because the other ones are quote-unquote normal, so there's no need to name them. So you have the name the minority, and then the majority gets a name later on when someone realizes, hey, this doesn't make sense. You got to have a name for the other group. Imagine if in the years between homosexual and heterosexual were invented, the words, suddenly 95% of the planet became gay for some reason. Would it make sense to continue having the word homosexual in that context?
Well, I don't think it's as big of a percentage of the relative representative population as you seem to think it is.
Well, among the younger generations it is.
I guess.
It's just, I think the word gamer is
I'm actually now Googling the word origins for heterosexual.
The word gamer is kind of unnecessary at this point, and I think it's the best use of it would be to describe someone who's a snobby ass about video games in the same way cinephile or foodie or, you know, these sort of words for people who will have these interests that everyone has but are really into it but are also dicks about it.
Okay, according to Wikipedia, the term heterosexual was first published in 1892.
Yeah, the word homosexual was published before that.
Yeah, I'm not saying it wasn't. I just wanted to know when. Although, like, here's the thing. It's like there's probably were words that predated hetero and homosexual in other cultures and stuff like that. So actually, if you know about that.
Well, generally, as I understand it, they were describing behavior rather than sexual orientation. I think the sexual orientation concept was mid-19th century.
Well, let's find out.
She's Googling this in real time. This is
I read. Sometimes I will Google, like, phrase origins and word origins. Late 19th century. It just says late 19th century. It doesn't say when.
Well, in the same sort of way, the word transgender was invented, and then you have the word cisgender was invented almost 100 years later. If anyone can actually come up with a time when you've got an obvious majority, an obvious minority, where the term for the majority was invented first, I would be fascinated to hear about it.
It doesn't say, it just says the late 19th century. Though apparently they know the first use of the term heterosexual, so I don't know.
You know, but obviously not using, say, word for, I don't know, in a UK context. This is the word for English people. This is the word for Scottish people. One's bigger than the other. That wouldn't make sense. I'm talking about different things than that, if that makes sense.
I guess.
I go down these sort of verbal cul-de-sacs and I lose my point.
You do. But oh, stop, I don't want to do that. Leave me alone. I pressed something on my phone, I didn't mean to. No, okay, there we go. I got out and was safe. Or saved. Yeah, but I don't know. It seemed like there was a lot of controversy, and I was like, people are allowed to have whatever experience they want, and, you know.
Yeah. I don't put my point again.
No, you don't need to put your point again.
Whenever you're naming a group like that, it's always they name the abnormal. Not at the judgment call, just the not normal, the small group. Mm-hmm. And then if it becomes normal, it's no longer needed as a term.
I guess, and language evolves, you know.
I don't know for sure, but I would be very sure if there was a particular word in the early part of the 17th century when the novel was invented for someone who read novels. I mean, at the time, the novel, when it was invented...
Novel reader!
It was controversial. You had people complaining that people reading novels would go mad.
They'll get brain fever.
You had the idea that women would read novels and they would become antisocial and want to hurt men. Things like that. These ridiculous ideas, which crop
You'll
up
get
whenever...
the rickets. I don't know.
These concepts, though, these crop up every time there's something new. And I would not be surprised if there was a term for someone who read novels from that era which fell out of use when everyone started reading novels.
If you're a cultural linguist, write the show. Because if so, I need to appropriate that. I think that'd be fantastic. And I'm going to make a t-shirt, I'm going to put it on Redbubble, and I'm going to share it on Twitter, and everyone's going to buy it, and I'm going to seem really awesome. Because you helped me out, everybody.
You're going to be the asshole I was describing earlier, but about novels.
Actually, no, I don't even really have time to read that much anymore. And it's terrible, too, because I do get so much of my news from Twitter. It's a shame. It really is. But, like, you do these days, you know? Like, I saw that Sinead O'Connor was trending this morning. And I was like, oh, no, is she... Because whenever you see someone famous trend, the first thing you think is, oh, no. Oh, no, they have... Okay, it's fine. But apparently she's, like, not in a good way. Like, she's holed up in a travel lodge in New Jersey, and she's, like, suicidal, and she posted this just, like, 10-minute video, you know, then it's really, like, kind of upsetting. Like, she said, like, her family won't talk to her and everything, and I felt really bad, and I don't know. I mean, she's an adult, and, like, obviously, you know, you can't go in and be like, we're helping you forcefully, but I don't know, it's just really sad. I like Sinead O'Connor.
I have very little opinion on Sinead O'Connor.
You're Irish!
So?
So you're just have it built in.
Can be C.P. Grogan any day. C.P. Grogan from the band Altered Images, the Scottish 80s band Altered Images. Played Kachansky in Red Dwarf in series 1, 2 and 6.
Christ. I know it all comes down to Red Dwarf with you, doesn't it?
And when it comes to Red Dwarf, the term dwarfer or fanfer of Red Dwarf would not need to exist if literally everyone watched Red Dwarf.
Yeah, but that's not the way of life.
Yeah, because it's a minority. It's got a term.
I never got into Red Dwarf because the only two guys that I knew who were into Red Dwarf were such insufferable pricks about it. I was just like, nah. They're like, well, it's actually the best show because it's British. And I'm like, yeah,
There's a lot of British shows. How can they all be the best?
Yeah, well, it's
Their logic is suspect.
Like, this was back in the day when, you know, you got some British stuff, but not a lot. Mostly it was like Britcoms from the 70s and 80s that were shown on PBS or like, you know, Monty Python. So like if you watched things that weren't that, you were like so super cool.
And if anyone thinks Red Dwarf is the best, they obviously haven't seen series 7 and 8.
Well, I mean, you have a more nuanced view of it because you're actually a fan. I think they were just posers.
Yeah, because Red Dwarf series 1 and 2
it's
are
like,
okay, 3 to 6 are good, series 9 and onwards are fine.
It's like all the people who are always telling me, oh, the Mighty Boosh is so funny.
Mighty Boosh is terrible.
And like, I've seen 2 episodes of it, and they're both horrible and not funny. I'm like, no, see, because it's really funny. And I'm like, it's not though. I'm not laughing. Like, I don't think it's funny. You might think it's funny, and that's grand, but, like, this isn't funny.
I do not understand the appeal of the Mighty Boosh. At all.
I don't like existential humor. I've never thought it's funny. And I feel kind of bad about that, but that's just how life is.
See, if only those poor people who were watching the Mighty Boosh over in America had seen the first 2 series of The League of Gentlemen and the Christmas Halloween special. Not series 3, though. That was
yeah,
crap.
If you were a
movie.
Real fan.
Not the movie or or series 3. They were bad.
What's the one with the guy with the phone?
That is Trigger Happy TV.
I like that. That was great.
Well, that's your problem.
I just like those sketches. If you've never seen, you could probably find it on YouTube. I just remember the show airing, I think it was on Comedy Central for like a wee bit, for like a hot second during the aughts. And it was just, your man had this big oversized Nokia phone, and he'd be in places where you shouldn't be on the phone, like at an art museum, or like a picnic, or like a restroom, or like a crowded, you know, in a restaurant. But he would just have these screaming conversations on the phone. Hello! No, I can't talk to you right now. I'm in an art museum. No, I'm in an art museum. Why is that what? No, that's rubbish. And it was like a candid camera kind of thing, because people were like watching this happen, like, oh, so rude. And I just thought that was just really funny. It just amused me so much. I don't know why.
That sort of thing wouldn't be as popular, right, if it had been done now.
No, because everyone has a phone.
Yeah, at the time it was still a surprising thing.
What? Someone talking on their cellular phone?
I mean, phones had been cell phones.
Your mobile phone?
Had been invented about 15 years earlier, but they were only for the very, very, very rich. While this was the time when mobile phones took off among regular people.
Yeah.
But they weren't everywhere yet.
Well, I got my first phone. It was the old Nokia. I got that in late 2001, so I was almost 22. And I signed with Singular, which was part of became part of AT&T, because it was a mall kiosk, and like I didn't have credit back then because I was just a poor uni student. So like that was back when like to get a cell phone plan you had to have either really good credit or like put $400 down, and that was not happening. But Singular, you didn't have to do that. That was my first cell phone. But before that, like in those heady days when things were crazy, I had a pager. Because all my friends got pagers, so I had a pager. And like back in the 80s, like only two kinds of people had a pager. Doctors on call and like drug dealers. So you're like...
What if you were a drug dealer who was on call?
Well, there you go. Well, no, like my dad, when he was working at a psychiatric hospital, he would sometimes have on-call nights where he had the pager with him. And then I tried to sell it to my parents. I was like, no, see, like, look, if I'm out with my friends and you want to know where I am or you need to tell me something, you can, like, just page me, right? And then, so, like, I'll find a payphone, right? And if I have some change, I'll call you back. It was such a really bad, pitch, but apparently they went for it because I had a pager for a year. And then I was like, this is stupid, and I actually never used it. No one pages me ever. But then I eventually got a cell phone, and I never looked back. The end.
You never looked up either because she's playing magnetic balls.
I am playing magnetic balls. Why? Why is that a bad thing?
I want to play with all of the multicolored balls that I don't play with in real life.
Who has multicolored balls?
Tattoo guys.
That's horrible. I'm fairly sure that that's one of those places you shouldn't tattoo. Like
I'm pretty sure someone's done it.
Yeah, I'm not saying no one has, but like tattoo artists will sometimes have here's places that legally we will not tattoo you, so don't even ask because it's dangerous. The end.
If people tattooed their eyeballs, they've tattooed their testicles, or at least their scrotum.
Yeah, but that just seems like an infection waiting to happen.
People are stupid.
Or like somebody with like ridiculous pain tolerance or something like that.
Yeah. Well, there's cases of guys cutting their penis in half from the head right down to the
on
bottom.
purpose or like by accident?
No, deliberately.
How?
And then tattooing the inside of it.
How do you pee?
The urethra is still there.
Yeah, but like, how do you pee while it's healing?
I don't know.
That just seems like...
But it's an extreme body modification. I cannot remember what you call it, but
unpleasant!
You cut the penis in half.
That's what you call it.
Or possibly you cut it into 4 pieces.
Tell me that's called a banana split.
It should be. And I've seen a couple of pictures of people doing the basic version of it. However, apparently there's more ornate versions where you cut into 4 and then you use piercings in order to hold it open like a flower on your groin.
How do you sex with that?
I don't know.
You never sex with that.
I don't
know. If you have this done right... Actually, no, do not write the show because
Please do.
No.
With photos.
No, we do.
Send photos to Omega on Twitter. This would be great.
Stop soliciting dick pics in my name.
Former dick pics.
No. That's terrible.
But yeah, it's an extreme body mod thing. So, if you want to do it, fair enough.
Well, it's your own body, I guess. Go on, live your life.
I think one of the unfair things is that body mods, done at piercing places, they're not allowed to use anesthetic because they have to have a special anesthetist to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
I really think that there should be setups somehow, I don't know how you'd arrange this, to allow registered anesthetists to work with body modders so that people can do stuff like that, because I'm a big fan of people changing their body to fit with how they want it.
It seems like the insurance risk would be really high, though. Because anesthetic is tetchy even on the best of days.
How about have a body modder who operates in the same business as a regular surgeon?
Surgery isn't a business in America. I know it seems like it. Well, I guess if it was a plastic surgeon, that is a business, really. Yeah, that's a good point. Like plastic surgeons doing extreme body mods. Although, you always hear those stories about oh, so and so got horns.
Yeah, that's a type of... What they do is they create an incision in the flesh, and then they pull the flesh up from the skull, and then they put the things, they connect it to the skull, and then they put the flesh over it, and that's how they get horns.
I don't think I'd want that.
I don't want it either, but
like,
I really want people to be able to do it if they want it.
I would want something like that you could just, like, make it go, like, you could magic it away if you got sick of it. Like, I'm sick of having horns today.
Well, with horns, there are some people who have the horns which are outside of the
I know that they screw in,
and
but...
you can unscrew or unscrew.
Yeah, but no. Do you know what I see sometimes at work, and I don't know how this happens? People come up to my tail, and they have a pierce, like, right, like, on their chest, like, right under their neck. Like, I'm like, where is it anchored to? How are you doing that? But I don't want to ask.
Tell you, if I had a type of situation where I could make my, decent money and didn't matter how I looked, which I admit I sort of got right now, but I'm not making enough to do this.
You mean that you could go to Tesco and stuff?
Yeah, or I wouldn't have to. I would totally get...
And I'm rich enough to just send my wife to Tesco.
I would totally try to get, the pointed ears and maybe get tattoos like trill spots.
You want to be a trill?
Trills from Star Trek with the spots are really cool.
Is it your kin type?
No, I just think that trill spots are cool. It's just these sort of spottish looking sort of trails down underneath the ears, down the chest. I think it's pretty cool looking.
I married a trill. Am I talking? Which trill am I talking to right now? Is Dax there?
Oh, you're not making any comments about the fact that I also said that I think it would be cool to have pointed ears.
Well, I mean, do you want to be an elf too?
No.
Are you an otherkin? Have I never otherkin?
And you know how they do the pointed ears?
Probably. Don't they just pull it to a point and then sew it there?
No.
No.
They take the ear.
Oh, she's taking my ear.
And then they cut out a section
cutting out
of
a
it.
section.
And then they put the 2 points left and stick them together.
That sounds painful.
Yeah, and it's done without an aesthetic.
Ugh.
That's the sort of thing that they should have some sort of access to an anaesthetist for, because...
Or they could. I think that would be the kind of thing you could use like topical, because the ear's cartilage, right? Well, I guess it's got a lot of nerves there.
Yeah, a lot of nerves.
So you should like,
people getting body mods should not be like the Pain Olympics. It's if people want to change themselves. It's awesome.
Well, I'm down for that. I mean, like I say, it's your body. Go on.
Improve on nature. Nature's shit.
See, I don't think that I would want any... See, I would just want the ability to, like, do stuff and then change back, like, at the end of the day. Like, what if it was, like, a really cold day outside and you're just not feeling well and you're sitting at home and you're like, I think I want to be fuzzy today. Like, not like I want to be, like, a furry or, like, an animal. I just want to have, like fur today. You're, like, all curl up warm on the couch and watch Netflix in your fur and you're like, this is nice. But then, at the end of the day, you'd be like, okay, done with that now, and then your skin is back.
Yeah, shape-changing would be a pretty cool thing for people
to do.
That's
it. Hell with body mods, I want to be a shape-changer.
That would probably be the best superpower that you could get, because if you've got shape-changing abilities, you've got control over your body, every single cell of your body, at the cellular level, which means you can do absolutely anything else you want. You can make yourself stronger simply by altering the cells. You could live forever. Almost, essentially.
Like one of those jellyfish.
Yeah, like, for instance, in X-Men, Mystique would not age unless she wants to. You could continue so you would but stay young. Unless you actually killed her in 1 second, or, or before she knew what was going on, she was dead.
Or a nuke.
She could just, or that. She could heal herself afterwards.
Oh, I didn't know that about Mystique.
Well, it's. I don't think it's ever been stated in the films or the comics, but it makes sense. If you've got the ability to change your cells to change shape, change your body's shape, you must be able to heal stuff.
And I would do it for like intimidation. Like I'd walk down the street and like someone's like starts messing with me like on the way home from the pub. All of a sudden I like gain the shape of like gargoyles, like with the wings and like the bat tail, and be like, you bother me, like no. Or if I'm in the queue and like someone's like looking like they might cut the queue, all of a sudden like Wolverine claws and like, oh, I wasn't butting in the queue. I'm like, I didn't think you were.
Yeah, the only
I will be the enforcer of fairness.
With
shape changing.
With shape changing, the only rule that I can think of that you wouldn't be able to do would be you wouldn't be able to change your mass. But everything else,
no, that's true.
You're pretty much omni-powered then.
Yes. So the hell with body mods. Where can I get omni-power? So I can always be first in the queue.
Yeah, and then someone will be like, oh no, you can't breathe fire if you think, or do something ridiculous like that. But if you've got cellular control, you could rebuild your body in such a way to be able to do that.
Yes. We will be dragons.
It's logical extrapolation from shapeshifting.
See, this is why it's probably a good thing that I don't have like unlimited power. Because like I wouldn't like go around making myself more powerful. I would just like go around righting minor wrongs.
Like a superhero.
Yeah, but like the superhero of common annoyance. Like, Our Lady of the Perpetual Fairness. No, because, like, people just do the bad thing, and I'm like, you need to be punished for doing the bad thing. But in small little ways. You know, so you get conditioned. And then you always do the good thing. And then I'll be king of the world. Amen. But yes, she's kissing my ear. I'm being seduced. Help. But yeah, so I can't think of anything else to talk about. Besides, we're almost out of time.
At some point, we should tell them about the goodies, because I think they would enjoy that.
Go watch the goodies and report back your findings.
Yes.
In scientific notation. But anyway, so that has been episode 121, and I have been the Omega Geek, and honey, who do you have to have been this week?
Mystique.
Damn, I married Mystique. Hello. Anyway. Oh no, Captain Alex.